Hello, all. Welcome back to Drippy Trez's podcast. Today, I am finally going to talk about what you've been wanting me to talk about for a while, and that is what is the point of movies? The entire reason that they started making movies was so that people would be inspired and moved by them and led to a better lifestyle, yet most movies do the opposite. Well, as of now, like I've stated in one of my previous audios, the point of movies is to help people recover from the trauma that they've faced from watching movies. I know what most of you are expecting me to say, so once people have recovered from the trauma of watching movies, they will be a waste of time? That is not something that I would ever argue. I am a firm believer that nothing is bad in and of itself, and that it's all in the way that it's being used. Instead of arguing that movies are bad, I argue that the people who make toxic movies are bad, and that in order for movies to work, only certain types of people should be allowed to make movies. Nope. I am not providing you with a short audio today. Instead, I am going to continue making a point. Few people have the right definition of honest nowadays. See, my definition of honest is what someone would think of something if they thought about something other than themselves. Most people like to think that their definition of honest is whether or not someone did something, when in reality, it's whatever they can get someone to say in order to make them feel bad about themselves. So, how can we learn to face the truth about ourselves? How can we learn to face the truth about others? Well, it's time for me to stop talking about movies and start talking about shows. How have shows influenced us? Well, the show Friends seriously mishandled a gay storyline by having an episode where they revealed that people think Chandler is gay without explaining that the reason the actor who played him walked like that was because he was on drugs. To be honest, I don't think anyone has genuinely been negatively impacted by SpongeBob. I think they just use it as an excuse to sin. If you watched My Story, no, not the 2019 film, my latest video, then you know how Family Guy has negatively impacted people. As you all know, there used to be the common misbelief that if you were being logical, that was it, and that if you were being emotional, that was it. Along with that, there are people who see being illogical and insensitive as emotional. When the same people who want to be as emotional as possible by being illogical and insensitive watch My Hero Academia, bad things unleash. And then Stranger Things was used as an excuse to come up with the idea that humans are never genuinely able to process their own emotions. If you are one of those people, I think that you should reflect on whether or not this is the type of person that you want to be. If you're not one of those people, something tells me that you were familiar with how people were affected by 3 of the 4, and you're just starting to figure out how people in your life were affected by the one you weren't familiar with. One thing about paying attention to the who, what, where, when, why, and how is that most people are struggling with paying attention to the who. Definitely not at all times, but in small doses throughout their daily lives. I used to be probably one of the worst offenders when it came to this concept. Trust me, it is not worth it. You want to be aware of the who at all times, regardless of if you like the person or not, regardless of if you agree with what they say or do. You want to be aware of how they think and how they make decisions. The best way to do that is to let go of all of the negative perceptions that you have of emotions and replace them with positive ones. The best way to do that would be to admit that you were wrong. The best way to do that would be to admit that it's not about being right or wrong, it's about living an honest life. For those of you that are like, but that's what I mean. Really? If that's really what you mean, then why is it such a big deal when something you learn in life is wrong? What all of this circles back to is Harry Potter and the 1940 version of Pinocchio. If you're not able to like Harry Potter without being able to admit that you're wrong, then you should either stop liking it or start telling yourself that you're able to like it without going about things the wrong way. That way your brain looks for proof that it's true and you're able to do so. Or you could just start liking the first one the best. As far as Pinocchio goes, people need to realize that there is a difference between liking something and appreciating it. Liking something refers to one's personal preferences, while appreciating it refers to recognizing the value of it. For those of you saying that it's the same thing despite what we discussed in my last audio, really? Do you like picking up dog poop? I hope you're saying no. Do you appreciate it? Yes. So it's not the same thing. There is a valid reason as to why people liked it in the 70s and 80s. A lot of parents weren't warning their kids against sexual predators, and it was because of this movie. But because people were so focused on liking this movie, there were a lot of kids who decided that if it ever happened to them, they would stay quiet about it just to make sure that they didn't make the movie look bad. Instead of focusing on liking it in the 70s and 80s, people should have focused on appreciating it. The same goes for a lot of movies. And if that meant that for some reason, and by for some reason, I mean because of Star Wars, they shouldn't have been allowed to teach science classes for a couple years, then it would have been worth it. Schools could have found other things for science teachers to do in order to make sure that they got paid. For those of you who haven't seen Pinocchio, it was a good movie the year it was released, but re-releasing it at the wrong time turned it into a bad movie. That is why the live-action one is the only one that anyone needs to watch. Next week, Thursday, I will be releasing a video that talks about the book compared to the movies. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for hitting that like and subscribe button. Thank you for leaving comments in the comment section below. Before listening to my next audio, please watch movies that I think everyone should watch as of 2025. Yes, I am talking about my video. I was not asking a question, and I do not expect any of you to watch 15 movies in 1 week.